Captain Talia Briggs felt the gunmetal sky press down as her helicopter sliced through hostile airspace, blades thundering over jungle that swallowed entire battalions. Tonight's mission was simple on paper: extract captured Americans before dawn, but the enemy's new radar network had other plans. When the first missile plume streaked upward, she knew survival would demand more than orders. It would require improvisation, nerve, and luck. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from tonight. I love connecting with fellow Americans who appreciate stories of courage and determination. Captain Talia Briggs sat in the cramped cockpit of the Black Hawk helicopter, her hands steady on the controls. The hum of the engines was a constant reminder that they were deep inside enemy airspace. Outside the small window, thick jungle stretched as far as she could see, dotted with occasional flashes of distant campfires. "Keep tight, team," Talia said calmly into the radio, her voice steady but with an edge of urgency. "We're on a tight schedule. In and out before dawn." The team's voices buzzed back in acknowledgement. She could hear snippets: "Copy that, Captain," eyes sharp, ready for the drop. Beside her, Lieutenant Marcus Reed checked the weapons systems one last time. His jaw was clenched tight, showing the tension that most tried to hide in missions like this. "How's the weather down there?" Talia asked, eyes scanning the instruments. "Clear so far," Marcus replied. "No signs of radar sweep yet." Talia nodded, though she didn't feel any relief. Enemy territory was unpredictable. One wrong move, and everything would spiral out of control. Outside, the jungle canopy reflected dim moonlight, hiding dangers they couldn't see. Her heart beat steady, but fast under her chest plate. Suddenly, the sharp crack of something hitting the hull jolted her. A shudder ran through the helicopter. The sound of an alarm burst through the cockpit. "Missile approaching," Reed shouted. Talia's hands reacted before her brain fully caught up. "Evasive maneuvers. Pull up and left." The pilot's voice reacted over the radio, a tough woman named Torres. "Got it. Pulling up." The helicopter lurched, climbing steeply. Outside the window, a streak of flame zipped past, trailing smoke. "It's close." "Another missile," Reed yelled, scanning the radar. Talia gripped her console. "Brace for impact. Everyone, hold tight." The second missile slammed into the side of the helicopter. Metal groaned loud and harsh. The world tilted and jolted wildly. Talia fought for control, voice steady but breath rapid. "We're losing hydraulics. Prepare for crash landing." The roaring engine slowed, the helicopter spiraling towards the trees below. A violent thud shook the aircraft as it hit the canopy, branches crashing through windows. Shards of glass sprayed into the cockpit. Talia shouted, "Eject. Eject now." The harness straps tightened around her body. She yanked her release lever just as the helicopter pitched violently. The ground rushed up fast. Her body jerked violently as the ejector seat propelled her free. Wind screamed past her helmet. She felt herself spinning as she tumbled through thick smoke and debris. The chute opened with a snap, slowing her descent. She looked down. The ruins of the Black Hawk smoldered below, black smoke curling up. Hard ground met her feet as she landed with a heavy thud, rolling to absorb the impact. For a heartbeat, she lay still, breathing hard, ears ringing. She forced herself up, checking the radio. Nothing. Silence. "Marcus, Torres, anyone?" she called softly, voice cracked but fierce. No answer. Around her, the jungle was alive with strange sounds, distant howls, rustling leaves, the buzz of insects. The smell of smoke burned her nose. Talia scanned the horizon, swallowing hard. She was alone, deep behind enemy lines. Her training kicked in. She moved quickly but quietly, pulling a camo tarp from her pack to cover the smoking wreckage. She couldn't let the enemy spot the crash easily. Branches crunched under her boots as she put distance between herself and the site. Her hands worked to silence the radio, hiding any signals. Her mind raced. The original mission hadn't gone as planned, but failure wasn't an option. Suddenly, voices floated through the trees. Enemy patrols. Somewhere nearby. Talia ducked behind a thick tree trunk, heart pounding hard. She held her breath, listening to footsteps grow louder. Minutes felt like hours. The patrol passed close, but didn't see her. She waited until their voices faded. When she was sure she was alone, she whispered, "Time to move out." With only the moonlight to guide her, Talia disappeared deeper into the jungle, every sense alert. The night was just beginning, and survival meant staying one step ahead. Her voice was low but clear into the radio. "This is Captain Brez. Mission compromised. Proceeding with Plan B." The jungle closed behind her, shadows swallowing her figure as the real fight began. Talia moved with purpose through the thick underbrush, every step measured but quick. The jungle was alive around her, animals stirring, leaves whispering in the slight breeze. Her skin prickled from the humidity, mixed with the residue of smoke from the crash. She paused under a large fern, crouching low, and listened carefully. The distant voices of enemy patrols still echoed nearby. Her temperature rose, not from the heat, but the tight knot of tension in her stomach. "Get it together," she whispered to herself. "You've been through worse." Her fingers brushed a small locket hanging from her neck. It bore a picture of her younger brother, a reminder of why she fought. Not just for duty, but for family. Suddenly, a soft snap of a twig nearby made her freeze in place. She held her breath, muscles tight as a coiled spring. The sound came from behind a thick tree trunk. Her gaze flicked sharply in that direction, eyes narrow and sharp. From the shadows, a young soldier emerged, scanning the area. Talia's mind raced, calculating her next move. She silently pressed herself further into the foliage, blending as much as possible. Once the soldier passed, she exhaled slowly and started moving again, deeper into the darkness. Her past missions flooded her mind. Each one ending here would mean failure, but she refused to let this be one of them. Ahead, a faint glow flickered through the trees. It could be a campfire or a light from the compound. Either way, it was both a threat and a guide. Talia moved through the jungle quietly, careful not to make any noise. The thick leaves brushed against her uniform as she pressed forward, her eyes sharp and alert. The moon was low now, casting long shadows between the trees. Ahead, she spotted a faint light flickering through the branches. It looked like a campfire or a security light. She crouched down, peering closer to get a better look. "Command, do you copy?" she whispered softly into her radio. "I'm approaching the target area." The crackling reply came almost instantly. "Roger, Captain Brez. We've got you on live feed. Proceed with caution." Talia adjusted her position, moving closer to a ridge overlooking a wide clearing. Below her, she could see the enemy compound, surrounded by tall fences topped with barbed wire. Guard towers stood at each corner, lights sweeping across the area in slow arcs. Inside the compound, she spotted clusters of soldiers patrolling in tight groups. Armed guards moved casually, but their eyes were sharp and alert. She counted at least 3 watchdogs roaming near the entrances. At the far side of the compound, a hangar stood open, dim light spilling from inside. Talia's breath caught when she saw the shape of a jet parked inside, a sleek aircraft with a dark, angular design she recognized immediately. "That's not any plane we know," she muttered under her breath. "They've mixed in some American tech on that one." Her mind raced. Her original orders had been simple: rescue the prisoners and get out. But now, this new information changed everything. She crouched lower, listening to the sounds of the camp. Soldiers shouted orders in a foreign language, boots thudding on gravel. Nearby, faint voices came from a barred window. Talia tapped her earpiece, adjusting the volume. She could hear muffled voices, some low talk, others whispering urgently. She recognized the sound of English. American English. Her heart beat faster. "The prisoners." "Command, I have confirmed American prisoners inside the compound," she whispered, barely able to keep calm. "Requesting new orders." The reply was tense but clear. "Mission parameters updated. Rescue priority 1. Infiltrate, extract, return." Talia exhaled slowly. The impossible mission was now her only option. She scanned the perimeter for weaknesses. There was a narrow drainage ditch running alongside one fence, nearly hidden by brush. It might allow her to bypass most of the guards. This is going to be tight, she said to herself. But I don't have a choice. She checked her watch. Dawn was still hours away, but time was already running out. Moving silently, she slipped down the ridge and into the undergrowth. The humidity wrapped around her like a blanket, sweat making her uniform cling. She used hand signals to communicate with her earpiece, requesting status updates and feeding information back to command. Security rotations, she muttered. Guards switching every 20 minutes. Need to move fast during the change. Minutes passed like slow-moving shadows. Then she saw her chance, 2 guards pacing away from a weak spot near the drainage ditch. Talia moved fast, slipping through the gap just as the guards turned their backs. Inside the ditch, the water was cold and muddy. She waited silently, holding her breath as searchlights swept nearby. Once clear, she climbed the fence on the far side, careful not to make noise. Landing softly, she stretched her legs and took a moment to listen. She could hear voices again, sharp commands and low murmur. Somewhere ahead, American voices mixed with the foreign language, confirming the prisoner's presence. Crouching low, she crept toward a cluster of buildings near the center of the compound. The big hangar she had seen from the ridge was just ahead. Talia's eyes narrowed as she reached the hangar door. Through the gap, she could see the jet more clearly now, sleek, angular, with markings she didn't recognize. She tapped her earpiece. Command, the aircraft inside is a prototype. It has stolen American technology. This changes mission scope. Extraction and sabotage may be necessary. The reply was immediate but cautious. Understood, Captain. Prioritize prisoner safety first. Secondary objective, prevent enemy advancement using stolen tech. Talia nodded, even though no one could see her. She felt the weight of the mission settle on her shoulders. She moved back toward the prisoner building, focusing on her next steps. Her training kicked in planning, prioritizing, preparing. Suddenly, a radio crackled nearby. She froze, heart hammering. A guard's voice broke the silence. All units report. Increased security checks. Possible intruder. Talia slipped into the shadows. The alarm raised the stakes. She whispered urgently into her radio, enemy on alert. Must move faster. Extract at risk if time slips away. Minutes dragged painfully. Then, from a faint opening in a fence, a prisoner emerged. He stumbled but kept moving. She recognized the look, exhaustion mixed with hope. I'm here, Talia whispered. Stay close. I'm getting you out. The prisoner nodded weakly. Captain Brez? You came for us. The woman smiled despite the danger. Never leave anyone behind. They slipped through another gap, moving steadily toward a safer area beyond the compound. As they moved, Talia's mind was already racing toward her next challenge, getting the stolen aircraft airborne and out of enemy hands. The weight of her decision pressed hard. The mission was no longer just about escape. It was about stopping the enemy from using American technology against them. And time was running out. Her breath was steady, preparing for what came next. Twilight faded, and she knew time was running short. Every step forward brought her closer to danger and to hope. Talia moved silently through the shadows, her boots making almost no sound on the dry earth. The compound was less than a mile ahead, and every step brought her closer to danger. The weight of the mission settled on her shoulders, but she never let fear show. She stopped behind a thick tree listening. Voices echoed nearby, guards speaking in low tones, their footsteps steady. The night air was filled with the scent of burnt wood and oil. Keep your eyes open, she whispered into her radio, her voice calm but firm. We don't have much time. Her earpiece buzzed softly. Copy that, Captain. We're tracking guard movements. Proceed with caution. Talia's eyes scanned the area, noting guard shifts near a large building. It was the main prisoner holding area. Lights flickered inside, casting taut shadows along the walls. She crept closer, using bushes and debris to hide her approach. The murmur of prisoners carried faintly on the breeze, low conversations filled with hope and fear. Once they disappeared, she exhaled quietly and pressed onward. Near the prison building, she spotted another familiar figure. Lieutenant Daniels, a captured pilot she knew from previous operations. He was thin and tired but alert. "Captain Brez," Daniels whispered as she appeared in the shadows. "I thought you might come." "Never leave a fellow pilot behind," she replied softly. Together, they moved to a dark corner where several prisoners huddled. Talia took a careful mental note of each face, committing details to memory. "We're getting you out," she assured them. "But we need a plan." Daniels pulled out a small piece of paper, creased and folded. "The guards change shifts in 15 minutes, he said. "That window is our chance." Talia nodded. "Good. I'll find the way through the security gates. You get the others ready." She rose, moving with purpose toward the command center. The building was guarded by 2 soldiers, standing watch beside a reinforced door. Talia crouched in the shadows, watching until one guard moved away on a break. She seized the moment, sliding silently to the door and using a stolen access card she'd found earlier to slip inside. Inside, the hum of computers and muted voices filled the room. Talia's fingers flew over the console, scanning maps, security cams, and communication channels. "I found the patrol patterns," she murmured into her mic. "They're predictable, switching every 20 minutes. Her radio crackled. "Copy that. Advising extraction team to prepare for synchronized move." Talia's eyes caught sight of a blueprint for the hangar where the stolen jet was kept. Enemy labels were scrawled across it in a strange script, but the layout was clear. Her heart quickened. Knowing the time and place meant the next part of her mission was within reach, stealing that aircraft and flying it out. She downloaded the files onto a portable drive and slipped it into her pack. Just then, the door behind her creaked. Talia whirled, hand on her sidearm. A young soldier stood there, eyes wide in surprise. Talia acted fast, knocking him out cold with the butt of her pistol. She dragged the body into a dark corner and secured the door. Her breath came hard but steady as she checked her watch. The next guard shift would start soon. Timing was everything now. She returned to Daniels quietly, handing him a small device. "This jammer will block their radios for 12 minutes, enough time for the breakout." Daniels gave a tired smile. "You think this will work?" "It has to," Talia said firmly. With the prisoners gathered and the plan set, Talia led them back toward the yard. Every sense was alert, every muscle ready. As they moved, she whispered to Daniels, "Stay close. We move when the jammer activates." The seconds ticked by like hours. Then, the device hummed softly, radios around the compound fell silent. Talia nodded sharply. "Now, move." They slipped through shadows and crossed guarded checkpoints, using silence and surprise as their shields. Gunfire erupted ahead. An alarm had sounded. Talia pushed forward, heart pounding, driving the group faster through the chaos. Smoke filled the air and shouts rang across the compound. They dashed toward the hangar where the stolen jet waited. The air was thick with tension. Talia's mind raced with possibilities. Every sound seemed louder, distant dogs barking, the click of radio static, even her own breathing seemed too loud. She crouched low behind a crate, eyes flicking to the blinking lights on the security panel she had just accessed. The data was crucial. Every detail mattered. Daniels whispered, "The prisoners are scared but strong. They need hope and fast." Talia nodded, her jaw tight. "We give them that hope and bring them home." Each second ticked by with heavy weight. The plan was risky, maybe even reckless, but there was no turning back now. Her gaze drifted toward the hangar again, the hidden jet waiting silently. She imagined the roar of its engines and the freedom it promised. Suddenly, footsteps echoed nearby. Talia's hand slid to her sidearm, pulse climbing fast. But a young guard appeared, eyes wary but unsure. Talia froze, instincts fighting with the need for stealth. In a flash, she backed into the shadows, her breathing slow now but ready. The guard passed without a word, and Talia exhaled in relief. Every moment was a battle of wills now. She glanced at Daniels, and his nod was firm. They were ready. The first hint of dawn was a thin strip of gray on the horizon. Time was truly short. The prisoners looked at her with silent questions. Talia's voice was calm, unwavering. Stay close. Trust me. The mission was finally set. Now, the real danger began. Night had deepened when Talia and the group huddled in a narrow alley beside the prisoner barracks. Somewhere down the hall, voices echoed, guards chatting, laughter cutting through the tension. Keep close, Talia whispered, eyes scanning every corner. Stay low and quiet. We only get one chance. Lieutenant Daniels whispered to her, they're scared, but ready. Talia glanced at him. Good. Fear sharpens the mind. We need focus now. They crept toward the barred windows. Inside, flickering lights revealed the silhouettes of prisoners, weak bodies yet eyes full of hope. Talia knelt, examining the lock mechanism on the door. Using a small set of tools from her pack, she set to work. Her hands moved with practiced skill, listening carefully to the sounds inside. Suddenly, muffled shouting erupted. A guard's angry voice pierced the night, something's wrong. Check the doors. Talia's heart leapt. She froze, still working, fingers trembling slightly. Daniels hissed, we need to hurry. With a soft click, the lock gave way. Talia smiled quietly and motioned the prisoners out. One by one, they slipped into the shadows. They moved fast, but not silently. Behind them, more shouting. Alarms blared. Floodlights snapped on, sweeping the area with harsh beams. Talia gritted her teeth. This just got real. The group ducked into a side corridor, pressed against cold walls. She communicated silently through hand signals, directing them toward the yard. A sudden crash made them jump. A patrol rounded the corner, weapons raised. Without hesitation, Talia lunged forward, grabbing one guard's gun and swinging it hard. The guard went down with a grunt. Others rushed in, and a frenetic fight broke out. Talia fought with all her strength, her training driving every move. Daniels tackled another guard, both rolling on the floor. Shouts echoed in the tight space. Time slowed, every second stretched. With a final surge, Talia shouted, move. Get to the hangar. They broke free, racing across the yard. Bullets kicked up dust and splinters. Ahead, the hangar loomed, its giant doors partially open. Inside, the stolen jet rested under dim lights. Talia glanced back. More enemy forces poured into the compound, sealing off escape routes. We're running out of time, she said breathlessly. Get ready to fly. Inside the hangar, Talia approached the jet. The controls looked foreign, but the cockpit felt familiar. She studied the panels, memorizing key switches. Daniels joined her, holding a worn flight manual. I'll help with takeoff. She smiled briefly. Good. We'll need every bit of help. Suddenly, an alarm echoed, the base-wide alert. Red lights flashed. They know we're here. No turning back now. The countdown to escape had begun. Talia glanced at the prisoners' faces, noticing the flicker of fear mixed with determination. She knew the weight of what was coming. Each step could mean the difference between freedom or capture. We stick together, she said softly. No one gets left behind. One prisoner, a young woman with striking eyes, nodded. How do we know we'll make it? Talia met her gaze. Because we have to. Because there's no other choice. The group moved carefully, every sound amplified in the tense silence. Talia could hear her own heartbeat hammering in her ears. As they edged closer to the exit, footsteps echoed nearby. Talia froze, pressing a hand to a trembling prisoner's shoulder. Stay quiet. A patrol passed just feet away. The prisoners held their breath. When the guards moved on, Talia motioned forward. They crept through narrow corridors and staircases, avoiding pools of light and cameras. In one hallway, Talia spotted a guard asleep against a wall. She glanced at Daniels, who gave a subtle nod. Quietly, Talia slipped past. They reached a heavy door with a keypad lock. Talia pulled out a small device, a digital lockpick she'd gained earlier, and began working. Hurry, Daniels whispered, eyes darting around. The lock clicked open. Talia pushed the door slowly, peeking inside. Inside, several prisoners sat quietly, their faces etched with fatigue, but bright with hope as they spotted the rescuers. You're safe now, Talia said firmly. We're getting everyone out. Coordinating quickly, she organized the group into pairs for the escape. Her voice was low but clear, guiding them through. As they moved out, footsteps approached rapidly. The group tensed. Talia took a breath and stepped into the corridor, meeting the guard head-on. She acted fast, disarming the guard with a swift move, sending him crashing to the floor. The fight erupted. Talia's training took over. She moved with precision, blocking blows and countering with force. Daniels engaged 2 guards, his actions fierce despite his weary frame. Shouts echoed. Reinforcements arrived. Talia knew this was their only chance. Move, she shouted. To the hangar. Now. The group sprinted through the compound, dodging gunfire and diving behind barriers. Ahead, the hangar doors loomed large. Talia's hope surged. Inside, she identified the stolen jet. The plan was within reach. But the sound of footsteps and alarms grew louder. Talia's voice was calm but firm. Ready yourselves. The hardest part is just ahead. The moment the hangar doors closed behind them, Talia's breath hitched. The stolen jet was waiting, sleek and ominous in the dim light. Every prisoner's eyes were fixed on the massive machine, hope and fear burning in equal measure. Stay close, Talia instructed, her voice low but steady. We move fast and quiet. Lieutenant Daniels helped the weakest prisoners, supporting them as they moved. Talia's hands felt the weight of tension as she made her way to the cockpit. The controls looked more complex than she expected. Enemy modifications made things unfamiliar, but her years of flying American jets worked in her favor. An urgent alarm echoed through the base. Red lights flashed, throwing long shadows across the hangar walls. Time's running out, Daniels said grimly. They're locking down the compound. Talia nodded, her jaw tight. We have to be faster. She worked quickly, flipping switches and running checks. Sweat dripped down her temple. The older prisoners watched anxiously, clutching makeshift weapons. Outside the hangar, enemy patrols swarmed. Voices shouted commands, boots pounding on metal walkways. The distant thump of helicopter blades mixed with the rapid-fire rattle of guns. Talia's heart pounded. Every sense was sharp. She whispered into her radio, "All units, be ready. We're about to take off." Daniels fastened his harness, nodding toward her. "Let's do this." Just as the engines whirred to life, the hangar doors began to open. Floodlights swept the floor, revealing dozens of enemy soldiers streaming inside. "Hold them off," Talia shouted. "We have to get airborne." The prisoners formed a loose perimeter, defending the jet with whatever they had. Talia kept her head, focusing on the controls. Suddenly, the engines roared. The jet's turbines spun up, blowing dust and debris into the air. "Clear for takeoff," Daniels said, gripping the stick. Talia checked her instruments one last time. "Take us up, Daniels." The jet lurched forward, racing along the runway as bullets whipped past. Explosions rocked the air. Talia's voice was calm but commanding. "Stay low, stay fast. We can't afford mistakes." Enemy fighters scrambled, chasing them into the dark sky. Tracers lit the night as the stolen jet weaved through the chaos. Daniels called out targets to evade. Left. Barrel roll. Talia executed the moves flawlessly, trust in her training steadying her hands. A missile streaked toward them. Talia triggered countermeasures, flares burst into bright orange sparks, confusing the missile. The tension was unbearable. Every breath held was a victory. Suddenly, Daniels tugged her sleeve. "They're not giving up. Another wave incoming." Talia nodded, her mind racing. She switched to manual control, pushing the jet to its limits. As they neared friendly airspace, the enemy's fire thinned. The first rays of dawn streaked the horizon. Talia let out a breath she hadn't known she was holding. "We made it," she said quietly. Daniels smiled tiredly. "Thanks to you." Her smile was brief but genuine. "No thanks needed. It's what we do." The radio crackled, a familiar voice breaking in. "Welcome home, Captain Brez." Mission accomplished. The passengers began to relax, the fear slowly fading. But Talia knew this was only the beginning. The stolen technology was too dangerous to let exist. She glanced back at the jet's instrument panel, determination hardening. "We'll make sure it never threatens us again," she said softly. The engines thundered louder, shaking the floor beneath them. Outside the hangar, more enemy troops poured through the open gates, rifles raised and eyes blazing with fury. Talia glanced over her shoulder, heart pounding. "They're closing in faster than I thought." Daniels handed her a small communication jammer. "This should buy us a few more minutes." She nodded, activating the device. Suddenly, enemy radios crackled and fell silent. More confusion spread among the soldiers. The prisoners fought bravely, using pipes, broken glass, even fists to hold off the first wave. Talia could see bruises blooming on their arms and faces, but no one faltered. Sweat beaded on her forehead as she worked the jet's unfamiliar controls. The complex panels blinked warnings, but she pushed through the confusion. "Almost there," Daniels muttered, eyes flicking to the fuel gauges. "We've got enough for one quick run." Outside, gunfire cracked closer. Bullets pinged off the metal hangar walls. Talia's breath came fast. She whispered into her radio, "Hold positions. Stay calm. We're not finished yet." The jet roared to life, turbines spinning up quickly. The floor vibrated beneath them. Suddenly, the hangar doors started to close partially. "Daniel, hold the door," Talia shouted. He planted his feet and pushed, muscles straining. The door creaked but wouldn't budge. "Got it," he exclaimed, sweat dripping down. With a roar, the engines pushed the jet forward. They burst out just as the doors slammed fully shut behind them. Outside, tracers slammed into the jet's fuselage. Talia ducked instinctively, her fingers flying over the controls. "Evasive maneuvers," Daniels called. "They're scrambling fighters." The stolen jet twisted and turned, a deadly dance of speed and precision. Enemy jets closed in, missiles locked on. Talia banked hard left, narrowly dodging several rockets. Her heart thundered as orange flares burst behind them, confusing the heat-seeking threats. "Keep sharp," she urged. "We're almost home." Despite the danger, a fierce pride burned inside her. These people, her team, they refused to give up. Neither would she. As dawn cracked the sky, the enemy's hold weakened. Fighters pulled back, reluctant to follow further into friendly airspace. Talia let out the breath she'd been holding. "We made it." Daniels smiled, exhaustion clear. "Thanks to your skill." She shook her head, eyes still alert. "We still have work to do. That tech can't stay out there." The radio buzzed. "Welcome home, Captain Brez." Mission accomplished. Talia exchanged looks with Daniels. The fight was far from over, but for now, they had won this battle. The battle for freedom was far from over. The coming hours would test their courage and will like never before. The stolen jet roared through the early morning sky, the wind whipping past the cockpit. Talia's eyes narrowed, scanning the horizon where enemy fighters screamed to life behind them. "They're gaining," Daniels said, voice tense but focused. "Keep her steady." Talia's hands gripped the controls, muscles tight with concentration. The jet shook violently from incoming fire. "Evasive maneuvers," she ordered, banking hard left. Tracers lit the sky like fireworks. Behind them, a missile streaked fast. Talia reached for the flare button, her finger pressing it down with practiced ease. Bright sparks burst away, confusing the missile's heat lock. She glanced at Daniels. "We've got one shot at this. If we fail, it's over." Daniels nodded, gripping the console. "Let's make it count." The enemy jet closed in, engines howling. Talia dove and rolled, pushing her skills to the limit. The stolen jet responded, agile despite its foreign upgrades. Her voice was steady despite the chaos. "Target their leader. Take them down." Daniels adjusted the weapons panel. "Locking on. Firing in 3, 2, 1. A bright flash lit the sky. One enemy fighter erupted in flames, spiraling down. "One less to worry about," Talia muttered, eyes sharp. Suddenly, the jet jolted. Another missile was nearby. "Deploy chaff," Daniels yelled. Talia flipped the switch. Thin strips of metal tumbled through the air, breaking radar locks. The missile veered off course, crashing into a distant mountain. Relief washed over her briefly. "Good work," she said. The pursuit eased as they neared friendly airspace. Talia's mind raced, not just about escape, but the stolen tech. "We can't let this fall into the wrong hands," she said quietly. Daniels nodded. "Agreed. What's our plan?" Talia's eyes scanned the instruments. "I'm going to disable the data storage now." She pulled up the access panel, fingers flying over controls. Sweat dampened her brow as she worked fast. Just then, a sharp beep signaled a system lockdown attempt. Enemy hackers were trying to regain control remotely. "Not on my watch," Talia growled, engaging the scrambler. The cockpit hummed. Alarms blared briefly, then stopped. She leaned back, breathing hard. Data wiped. Tech neutralized. Daniels gave a tired smile. Mission success. Talia allowed herself a small smile. "Let's get home." The sun rose fully, painting the clouds gold. The jet cut through the sky, a silent promise of hope. Back at base, emergency crews awaited. Talia's team was safe, the stolen technology destroyed. As she touched down, cheers broke out. Pilots and soldiers rushed to greet her. A senior officer approached, saluting sharply. "Outstanding work, Captain Brez. You've set a new standard." Talia nodded, exhaustion mingling with pride. "Just doing my duty." Daniels joined her, clapping her shoulder. "We made a difference." She looked out over the base, knowing the fight wasn't over, but this battle was won. In the quiet that followed, Talia whispered, "For my team, for my country." A vow carried on the wind. The sky held a new promise, and Captain Talia Brez was ready to meet whatever came next. The stolen jet thundered forward, slicing through the clouds as the enemy fighters trailed behind like shadows. Talia's eyes flicked between the sky ahead and the blinking instrument panels. Every warning light was a stark reminder of how thin their margin for error was. Her gloved hands moved steadily, pressing buttons and toggling switches with practiced precision. The cockpit was tense, but alive, panels flickered, engine hums surged. Daniels leaned close. "How long can she hold under this strain?" "Long enough," Talia replied, voice calm but fierce. "We're almost through." Outside, tracer rounds zipped past their canopy, each one a reminder of the dangers pursuing them. Explosions dotted the distant ground, marking the path they'd escaped. "Trajectory clear," Daniels noted. No sign of more interceptors ahead. Talia allowed herself a brief glance upward. The sun was a distant glow, growing stronger with each mile. Freedom was just beyond the horizon. Suddenly, a burst of static crackled through the radio. "Enemy hack attempt," Daniels warned. "They're trying to override controls." "Not today," Talia muttered. She slammed a series of buttons, activating the countermeasures. The cockpit vibrated as the system fought the intruder. Alarms blared then faded, silence returning like a reward. "System secure," Talia confirmed, wiping damp hair from her forehead. Daniels breathed easier. "You've got nerves of steel." Talia smiled briefly. "Training never stops." Inside, the prisoners leaned forward, breathing shallow, hearts pounding. Some whispered prayers. Others stared silently ahead, trusting her to bring them home. Her voice softened. "We're almost safe. Just hold on a little longer." A sudden sharp ping echoed, missile lock. Talia's eyes snapped wide. "Flares," she yelled. The cockpit exploded with bursts of bright light. The missile veered away, targets lost in a blaze. Daniels grinned. "Nice shot." The enemy's resolve seemed to waver as distance grew. Talia pushed the jet harder, every ounce of skill focused on escape. She thought of the mission, the stolen technology, the lives saved, and the fight that had pushed her beyond limits. "We're going to make it," she whispered, sweat stinging her eyes. The first friendly radar locked on, its reassuring beep amplifying in the cockpit. Talia exhaled deeply. "Home base, this is Phoenix 1. Mission complete." What an incredible journey with Captain Talia Brez. If you enjoyed this thrilling military story of courage, determination, and never leaving anyone behind, please give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Your support helps me bring you more amazing stories of American heroes every week. And don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.